Hello, I'm Rhian Bowen-Davies and I'm the Older People's Commissioner for Wales. As Commissioner, I'm an independent voice and champion for older people, standing up and speaking out to ensure that rights are protected and safeguarded. My vision is for a Wales that empowers older people, tackles inequalities and enables everyone to live and age well. And to enable me to work towards this vision, I've developed a robust work programme, which is based on the experiences and what older people have told me when I've been out and about meeting them across Wales. One key element of my strategy is that older people feel safe, whether this be in their homes, their communities, or in their relationships. And this is particularly important when we think about this series of webinars, ensuring that older people are free from abuse, neglect, and are protected and can access the services that are responsive to their needs. I've committed to working with my Stopping Abuse Action Group and other partner organisations across Wales to look at how we can better identify, respond and provide support and services for older people who've experienced any kind of abuse. And alongside this, to ensure that I am monitoring and scrutinising the range of legislation and policies that's there to protect and safeguard older people. And within Wales, we have a very specific set of legislation and policy frameworks that enable me to do this. Over 10 years ago, we introduced the Social Services and Wellbeing Act, aimed at putting adult safeguarding on the same footing as children's safeguarding, and placing very clear responsibilities on local authorities and other partners to report, respond and make inquiries into allegations or reports where abuse has been made around older people. Alongside this, in 2015, the Violence Against Women, Domestic Abuse and Sexual Violence Act was introduced. And alongside the work that's been ongoing to develop a blueprint approach, this really looks at how, again, we can improve our identification, response and support for everyone who's affected by abuse and violence. We've also, in 2024, saw the publication in Wales of the National Action Plan to Prevent Abuse of Older People, the first of its kind in the UK. And this is aimed at coordinating our response in Wales to those who are experiencing abuse, neglect, based on early intervention and prevention and improving our multi-agency working. My role is very much focusing on ensuring that we are scrutinising the progress of the action plan, as very often I hear that progress isn't as quick as we would like it to see. So ensuring that we keep a momentum and pace and implementation around the action plan, because it's important that those actions that are within it deliver meaningful change and outcomes for older people who are experiencing abuse. More recently, we've seen the implementation of the Single Unified Safeguarding Review in Wales, bringing together domestic homicide reviews, child and adult safeguarding reviews and mental health homicide reviews, with the aim of improving coordination, avoiding duplication and supporting families who are going through those processes. So when we think about those legal and policy frameworks, I also think about my work programme and the commitments that I've made. And one of the priority areas of work for me this year is around how we improve the identification and response to older people who are experiencing or have experienced sexual violence or abuse. Abuse that can impact on somebody's lifelong behaviours and trauma. And one of the things that I've done in relation to this work is to bring together a roundtable of key stakeholders at the end of last year to start to identify what are the areas that we could improve our identification, responses, and ensuring that older people can access support appropriate to and responsive to their individual needs. Policies and frameworks are hugely important, but we need to see much greater understanding amongst practitioners and professionals to ensure that these are reflected in practice. And that's why I'm so pleased to see such a broad range of issues being explored by the upcoming Exchange Conference series on adult safeguarding. This will happen throughout February, and they all have a real focus on enabling the kinds of practical action that will be crucial to delivering positive change and meaningful outcomes for older people affected by abuse across Wales. The series will start on the 4th of February with a webinar by Dr. Carl Mason of the Royal Holloway, University of London. And this webinar will focus on improving our responses in cases of discriminatory abuse, so where an individual is targeted because of a protected characteristic. This webinar will focus on how we can improve our responses as professionals and examine how our attitudes can impact how we respond to allegations of abuse. On the 10th of February, the next webinar will be facilitated by Dr. Jeremy Dixon of Cardiff University and Drs. Azreen Maharani and Rina Lazrado from Manchester University. This webinar will examine the findings of research into practice in social care, primary care and the voluntary sector relating to safeguarding people living with dementia. The understanding amongst professionals of the safeguarding policy and legislation, and professionals' experiences of partnership working. On the 16th of February, there'll be a special podcast hosted by Dr. Jeremy Dixon and also Dr. Sarah Lombay of the University of Sunderland. This podcast will explore the action needed to respond to key issues that Dr. Lombay has identified through her research, particularly how age discrimination and the complexities of abuse in later life can hinder recognition and access to services and support. On the 23rd of February, Dr. David Orr from the University of Sussex will host a webinar which looks at how we improve support for people experiencing self-neglect. He will consider the logistical, interprofessional and legal challenges and how approaches to support professionals and interprofessional curiosity can improve outcomes for those individuals. The series comes to an end with the webinar on the 25th of February, hosted by Professor Michelle McManus and Dr. Emma Ball from Manchester Metropolitan University. Professor McManus will explore the findings and learnings from adult practice reviews here in Wales, drawing together the findings from a thematic review that happened last year and identify how we can put this learning into practice to improve our responses and improve outcomes for older people who've experienced abuse. I very much hope that you will take part in the webinars and join the series that is happening, and that we take the learning from this webinar and help that influence and inform our practice and policy to improve our safeguarding policies in Wales and improve the outcomes for older people who are experiencing abuse and neglect.